Welcome back to Shane Talks. It's been a very, very long time. My last episode that was put up was May 19th, 1999's episode, where I talked about Star Wars Episode 1. The last episode that Jason and I did together was a week or two before that, and that was the Star Trek episode, which actually got a lot of really good feedback. So absolutely loved having Mike and Ben on for that. Middle of May, you know, life happened. So yeah, I've always tried to kind of keep my professional life and my personal life separate. So, I mean, the thing that I will say is the super happy, energetic guy that I am portraying when I am on here is not always who I am when the cameras are off. Personal life Shane can be kind of a jerk and kind of be an asshole, and I did not do well in my relationship life. So, that happened last year and kind of sent me on a pretty bad path. I quit having any desire or motivation to be creative in any way, and had to do a lot of therapy and stuff like that for the past couple of months to kind of start working on myself again and making myself happy and whatnot. About a month ago, I started a new job, a job that I absolutely love and has completely changed my mindset and where I'm at in life right now. So back in November, well, actually it was Thanksgiving Day, Jason and I sat down together, kind of pitched him on some of the ideas that I'd been having for the rebranding and rebooting of the podcast. So that's coming down the road. I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Sergio. He's kind of been one of the people in the last couple of months that's reached out to me and said, he texted me one day and was like, "Hey man, I am completely caught up on your podcast, and when are you going to do more episodes?" Granted, he of course texted it in Spanish because Sergio's from El Salvador. No, he didn't at all. But yeah, so getting that text from Sergio and just being like, somebody actually asking for more content from me, like, really made me feel good. And that's when I started putting together a plan for Jason and I. Instead of doing a weekly thing like we had been doing, kind of doing a monthly thing, having a theme for the month, having two guests on there, so there's four of us. Maybe doing a little longer, like a 2-hour episode instead of an hour episode, once a month. Kind of a little bit less commitment on everybody's part, but also at the same time, like some of the sections of the podcast are like, one of them is, every month somebody has to watch a movie for the first time, like something they haven't seen, whether it's brand new or it's like, I've never seen Top Gun, I'm going to watch Top Gun for the first time. Like, one of the, sections of the show that we're trying to put together involves people watching something that they've never seen so they can talk about it. So there's a little bit of a time commitment that'll be involved for the people that end up agreeing to do the show with us. We haven't pitched it to anybody yet, but we have people in mind. Jason and I are, we kind of haven't talked about it a lot since Thanksgiving just because the holidays were going on. So we'll probably chat about it more soon. I kind of, had hoped to start doing a monthly episode, in January. So worst case, if this is the only thing we put out in January, hopefully by February we'll have a plan together. It might take us some, time to do the revamping and reworking that we're doing. Um, so yeah, a little bit less commitment, but larger scale of things that we're, looking to try to do with the podcast. So I'm excited and happy about that. I want to get back to being creative again. Being creative is something that I've loved to do. Again, I was in a bad mental state for a long time. I faked it and turned it on when the cameras were rolling because that's kind of just how I've always lived my life and how I've done stuff. I'm a fairly fake person because I'm not fake because I am fake because that's just I've always been into the arts, and with the movies that we made and the stage productions I did and stuff like that, like being a character version of myself for the public is something that I've always done, and I don't do a good job of being a happier person when I'm not faking it. So trying to get back into the creative stuff. So it's an hour into 2023, so I've been thinking about this all day. Didn't want to bother Jason because I know he's got the kids and everything on New Year's Eve, but I just thought I'd do a podcast so that there was at least some new content going on. a couple of my friends. I'm trying to, be supportive with them and whatnot, and encourage them to be putting out new content recently. And so I need to practice what I preach. So if I'm going to be supportive of other people and try to push them to be creative and put out new stuff, then I need to do the same thing for me. So I am going to do this episode. It is just going to kind of look back on 2022. Jason and I did this last year. We looked back on 2021 and kind of talked about the things we liked and didn't like. I have Jason's top 5 movies that he texted me today, so I can at least tell you guys that, and I can tell you the movie that we argue and fight about a lot this year. But something that I used to do in the early days of the podcast, and for a lot of the podcasts, I used to talk about the beer that I would drink every episode. Um, I don't drink as much as I used to, but on special occasions, I do, tend to pull out a beer or two. So I'm bringing that back for tonight. I was sitting around yesterday and thought to myself, I really want to treat myself for how this last month has been going, and how, life has made a 180-degree turn in a super happy, good direction for me. That, I've found a job, a real world job right now that I am absolutely in love with. I love what I do, and I'm really happy with the people I work with, and they treat me really well. So I said, you know what? I've had my eye on this beer since September, but it is a $20 single can of beer. And I could never pull the trigger on that. That was ridiculous to me. Like, I mean, it's way overpriced. But I was sitting around last night and I said, you know what? This last month, and the way your life has gone, you really owe it to yourself to treat yourself. Haven't, gone out to celebrate with anybody. Haven't gone out to dinner to celebrate the new job with anybody. Like, I don't have anybody to celebrate it with. So I was just like, you know what? You need to treat yourself to something. So I've had my eye on this beer since September. Never was willing to pull the trigger, so I finally did. It is from the brewery. It is a brewery in California. It's one that my buddy Ryan Miller turned me on to back in 2013. Really early on in the website, it was beer like number like 350-ish, somewhere around there. It was the first brewery beer that Ryan gave to me to drink. But with the brewery, 2.5 years ago, Ryan brought over a coconut beer from them that was bourbon barrel aged, and on my website, I claimed that it was the greatest coconut beer that I've ever had. Um, this one did not overtake it. This one is also bourbon barrel aged, but it is a mango coconut beer that is bourbon barrel aged. It is real good. The mango is really strong up front. The bourbon follows that, and then it does have a coconut lingering aftertaste. So it doesn't have the powerful coconut that the last one that Ryan brought to me like 2 years ago has, but it's still very enjoyable. I've been sipping on it for the last hour, but it's really tasty and really good. Like I said, yeah, like that sweetness from the mango just punches you at the beginning. It mellows out into a bourbon flavor, and then the coconut just lingers there. So it's got all 3 distinct flavors. Really enjoyable beer. Like I said, been sipping on it for about an hour. As it's warmed up, it hasn't really affected the flavor very much. So super tasty beer that I'm drinking tonight. So best of 2022. Let's talk about the movies that I loved in 2022. Um, well, let's address this real quick. I sent this text to Jason earlier today. The top 10 movies. Let me pull the picture up. The top 10 movies of this year are pretty much set in stone. Let's go over them real quick. Number 1 is Top Gun 2. Number 2 is Avatar 2. Jurassic World Dominion. Doctor Strange 2, Minions 2, Black Panther 2, The Batman, Thor 4, Fantastic Beasts 3, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I hope you caught the theme of all 10 of those movies. Every single one of them is a sequel. All of them. The top 10 grossing movies of 2022 are all sequels. Literally, Hollywood has nothing original left at all. I mean, there is, and I'll talk about a couple of them here soon. But I sent that to Jason earlier today. I was, complaining about it, like Hollywood's so unoriginal, Hollywood's dumb, Hollywood's stupid, everything's a sequel. I hate this about Hollywood. And then we started texting each other our top 5 lists, and I realized that, like, the majority of my top 5 lists are all sequels also. So that's weird and awkward. The thing that I hate is also the thing that I indulged in this year. But so let's get to it. Um, my five is a 5/6. I've got two of them that I can't really decide which one I like better. One of them I saw months ago. I think it came out like back in March. I know I was still living at the house when it came out, so it's been a while. Um, it was the Atom Project, and these are both Netflix ones, so I kind of consider them just together and on par probably with each other. I remember loving the Atom Project when it came out. I watched it twice within like the first couple days it was out. Really enjoyed it. Really loved it. Loved Ryan Reynolds. Loved the kid. Had a lot of fun with it. It had all the sci-fi references that I ever needed in life. Like it literally was as if I went, future Shane went to the past and told one of my favorite screenwriters to write the film. Yeah, so I really, really liked the Atom Project, but I also really, really liked Glass Onion that just came out. And that one I've only seen once. I appreciate the fact that it was not a rehash of the first film, because it's not even technically a sequel to Knives Out. It's just literally, in the same universe type film. Benoit Blanc is the only character that is in both of the films. It's literally just him solving another mystery. So not even technically a sequel, but like I mean I understand it can be viewed as a sequel. So again, both of them Netflix movies, both kind of on the same par, with the production value and quality and everything like that. But I did really enjoy both of them. My number four movie is Top Gun Maverick. Yes, it's a sequel. Yes, it's the number one grossing film, of this year and I think of all time or something like that now, and it's really good. Like it's weird. There has been a good run of sequels recently that have turned out to be really, really good. Like a couple of years ago, we had the Ghostbusters Afterlife, which was the fourth film in the franchise, but still was my second favorite in the franchise. Like, still an amazing film. So Top Gun Maverick, they hit all the right notes with me, bringing in Peggy Benjamin, and it was the absolutely amazingly, stunningly beautiful Jennifer Connelly, who I've loved since The Rocketeer. Like, bringing her in for that character was perfect, flawless. I thought the story was really good. It wasn't exactly the same story that I'd heard about back in the day. Like, I had heard years ago when they started talking about the sequel that it was going to be more about drone planes and how the pilots were being phased out because the Navy was going to start using drone planes instead of actual fighter pilots, and it was supposed to be about how Tom Cruise was supposed to convince them that like no, the human element is what's important, like in the plane. So that was like 5% still there in the movie, not exactly the actual plot of the movie, but I mean Miles Teller killed it as Goose's son. Like flawless, phenomenal. Like the movie's good. My buddy Ryan and I were talking recently about the movie, and he was just saying that the thing that he missed from the movie is like it doesn't have that hook song, like you know. And I said, well, I really like the Lady Gaga song in there. Like I thought it was a good song. And he was like, right, but you don't sit around and think about that song the way you would think about Berlin's "Take My Breath Away." And I was like, okay, like valid point. I do like the Lady Gaga song, but I do not sit around thinking about it or listening to it. But so I mean, it is what it is. But Top Gun Maverick, my number four movie of 2022. My number three movie of 2022, also actually, the rest of these are all sequels. Like I said, I complain about sequels in Hollywood and how nothing's original, but I'm about to give you some more sequels. A Christmas Story Christmas. Yes, it's fresh in my head because I just watched it a couple of times over the last month, but like it was so well done in the same vein as Ghostbusters Afterlife, where like it acknowledged what came before it, but it still had its own original story. It still did a lot of the same tricks that they did in the first movie with Ralphie imagining things and the narration and the voiceover, but it wasn't like Ralphie being his dad, and his dad had passed away, and the way they honor his father throughout the course of the film, and it's about those bonds of friendship. Like Ralphie moved away, and like some of his friends are still in the same town, but they're not really friends anymore. Like I felt like it was a very true to life, very well done, just ensemble piece where like they didn't rehash stuff from the first movie, but they did address it, and they go to the mall to see Santa Claus, but the things that happen to Ralphie's kids don't happen the same way that they did in the first movie. So like it's cool that it happens because it's like a family tradition type thing, but it's completely different. Like they don't just like use the same jokes and stuff like that. So, and I mean, let's be honest, I'm a sucker for any movie that has a main character that's a writer. And Ralphie becoming a writer, like 3 minutes into the film, when like that's his shtick and that's what's going on, and he's going in and talking to editors, like trying to sell his manuscript, and like his whole like the guy trying to be like, the end of your manuscript doesn't make sense, and Ralphie's like, that's because I've written, I'm working on the sequel to it. It's just like things like that. Like I always have a soft spot for main characters that are writers and authors and stuff like that, because I mean that's what I want to do. So Christmas Story Christmas, it just hit, like, honestly, it's the holiday season, so I probably gave it a lot more love than I normally would for a movie like that. But like 10 years ago they did A Christmas Story 2 with like Daniel Stern or something, and it was so miserable and terrible that I only ever watched it once. But like I'm happy that there's now an actual legit sequel that I care about, that I think is really good and fun. My number two favorite film, like my top two, are not going to surprise anybody. Anybody that knows me and anybody that's watched a movie with me in the last 20 years, these top two are not going to surprise them at all. My number two favorite film was Scream 2, or I'm sorry, Scream 2022. Um, I do love Scream 2 though, but Scream, what is it? Scream 5. Um, I really enjoyed it a lot. I really feel like, not having Kevin Williamson around didn't necessarily hurt the movie. I feel like these guys that wrote and directed it, I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but not Wes Craven. These two guys did a good job of bringing the characters in the franchise into modern day, kind of rehashing, but not exactly rehashing the first two or three movies. Like it's still original enough. It's still creepy and scary enough. I felt like there was a lot of good tense moments in the movie. Um, I'm the person that doesn't hate four. I know a lot of people that hate four. Three is my least favorite of the movies, but I understand why it's bad. Like I've talked in length on this podcast about what went wrong with three. So like I really do like Scream 5 a lot. I had a good time with it. I mean, and I watched it multiple times, over the course of the year. Yes, there are things that when you know who the killer is, it's like, how did that person get away with doing that? Like same thing with Scream 2. Like, how did Billy's mom kill Randy? Like, he should have been able to way overpower her. Like in the horror genre, I apparently have a much bigger suspension of disbelief than a lot of people do, mainly my friends who complain about certain aspects of the Scream franchise, and I'm just like, look at the Halloween franchise. Look how terrible they've gotten. Like, the 2018 one was good, but then 2020 was pretty bad. 2022 was absolutely terrible. Or, well, I'm sorry, hold on. What was it, like 2016 and then 2018 and then 2022? However, those three went at. The first one was really good. Second one was terrible. The third one was like one of the worst things I've seen this year, which sucks because I absolutely love the Halloween franchise. But man, those last two entries they gave me just were not enjoyable at all. Absolutely did not like them at all. My number one movie, absolutely no surprise to anybody. I'm a giant emotional freak. I get made fun of a lot for how much I cry at movies, how emotional I get when I'm watching movies or TV shows. But I feel like when the writing is really good, I don't know. I just have a soft spot. I especially have a soft spot for like death. Losing a couple of friends that I've lost. Jason and I unfortunately lost a friend of ours. What would that have been, like 2 or 3 weeks ago? Unfortunately, one of our high school friends, one of our best friend's little sisters, she decided to take her own life, and it was kind of a bummer, kind of disappointing. It's been years since I talked to her, but yeah, it's still an emotional thing to go through. So I'm an extremely emotional person, and when it comes to good storytelling, especially good storytelling that involves death, I get really emotionally invested in it. So my number one film of 2022 is Clerks 3. Um, it hits just on so many levels. The heart attack stuff, the health stuff, deciding to make a movie, literally a movie about making a movie, about making the first movie that Kevin Smith made in the same way that he made it. All of the callbacks, all of the throwbacks to the first film, and the first film is so influential and important to me in life that 30 years later, when you make another movie about making the first movie and you throw all the references in there that I've grown up listening to the audio commentaries on DVDs when DVDs were a thing. And like that's why I bought like, three different versions of Clerks, just because it has different commentaries that Kevin Smith would record at different times with different people. Like, I used to really obsess and care about listening to all that stuff. I wanted to know how filmmakers made stuff. So a lot of the stuff that he talked about behind the scenes stuff, or stuff that he's talked about in his stand up and specials and stuff like that, like gets put into Clerks 3. So it's just all kinds of in jokes that I've been in on for like 30 years. So it just really hit me on another level. Every actor in that movie nails their part, does it amazing. Is there stuff that's like goofy and ridiculous that doesn't necessarily need to be in the movie? Absolutely, but not to the same point that like Clerks 2 has a lot of ridiculous stuff in it. But again, like Clerks 2, the last 10 minutes of that movie, like, I get choked up and emotional because of the argument that Dante and Randall get into. Like, that's kind of ramped up another step in this movie. So yeah, a movie about friendship, a movie about 30 years of friendship, a movie about guys working together. Like a lot of this stuff all parallels. Jason and I's life for a long time has paralleled the Clerks universe and whatnot. So Clerks 3, my absolute number one favorite film of the year. Really, really enjoy it and think it's well done. So that's my top five. Let's see if I can pull up Jason's top five real quick. Jason's top five. His number five is Hustle. No, the Netflix Adam Sandler movie. I still need to watch that. That's on my to watch list. There's been a lot of stuff that I just never felt in the mood to go out to the theater to watch. But with that being on Netflix, I really don't have an excuse to have not seen it yet. So I'm a big Sandler fan. I think Kevin Garnett's in it, so maybe that's why Jason likes it so much. But that's definitely on my I need to watch it list. His number four is Violent Night. Violent Night definitely makes my top 10. It might even be like number seven. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff this year that came out that I loved. The ones that I told you about are ones that I, liked a lot. But Violent Night, super fun, really good time. Like Home Alone, Die Hard, Christmas, like just mad. Like it's a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It probably won't hit you the same way as it did like at the beginning of December when like Christmas was just, around the corner. But Violent Night, David Harbour's awesome, John Leguizamo's awesome. Who's the mother from Home Alone? I'm so drawing a blank on her name. Not the mother from Home Alone, Beverly D'Angelo, the mother from Christmas Vacation. Sorry, got my Christmas movies confused until I had a sip of Delicious. Beverly D'Angelo is in this movie like almost unrecognizable. Her voice even is almost unrecognizable, but she was even really good. Jason put Clerks 3 as his number three for the year. That's awesome. I feel like he probably has a lot of the same feelings as I do about it. His number two is Avatar. That is a movie I refuse to watch. I hated the first one. Like I hated the first one on an undying level, like an undying, passionate level of hate. I've discussed on our podcast numerous times how much I hate the movie, and no interest, absolute zero interest in ever watching any Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, however many he ends up doing. I will absolutely refuse to ever watch any of them. And then Jason's number one of the year was my number three. That's Top Gun, or was my number four, Top Gun Maverick, which I can't complain about. Absolutely fun. When him and I talk about it, like I like the movie, but like Jason like passionately likes the movie. So like it's nice because a lot of times him and I disagree on stuff. It's nice when there's a movie that we can agree on. Top Gun and Clerks, and Violent Night being some of those movies that we feel the same way about. One movie this year that is Jason's most hated film of the entire year, which I don't understand. I don't think this movie is good, but I liked it. And I might like it because it's got Pete Davidson in it, but it's called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And it's a dark comedy horror movie. And I don't know if Jason wanted more of the horror than the dark comedy. I know his biggest complaint with the ending, but his biggest complaint with the ending, I'm willing to overlook because I think the ending is original and new and different. And the ending messes with the audience and makes you rethink everything you just watched. And it's really like I don't want to give anything away. It's more of like a social commentary reveal at the end. I don't know. Like I don't really know how to explain it, but like I laughed so much during this movie, and then when I found out the end that it's not even really a twist. It's the thing that happens at the end that changes the movie. I was just kind of like, oh, that makes this even funnier because this was just literally an entire movie that was done to piss off audiences. And I mean, like it worked with Jason, like it pissed him off, but like I don't know. Yeah, nobody else that went and watched it with us that night liked it. Everybody else hated it, so I don't know. One of my honorable mentions I have just thought of while I was going through all this. My buddy Joel and I went and saw it one time when like Jason was in Florida or something, and it was just completely like because I was just like kind of interested in it. The movie The Menu with Ray Fiennes and Anna Taylor Joy is really good. Like I don't love the movie, but I appreciate the fact that it was an original script, it was an original story. I mean, it might have been based on a short film or it might have been based, but I've never seen a movie like this. Um, I went in thinking it was going to be a horror slasher movie, and it wasn't at all. It was a very, very dark comedy-ish, dark comedy drama. I don't even really know how to explain it, but like I appreciated and enjoyed the fact that it was not something I'd ever seen before, and I enjoyed the ride. I think it was short. I think it was like an hour and 40 minutes long, so it didn't feel long. It didn't make me feel like I was watching a movie forever. Unfortunately, like with Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever this year, like I just felt that it was like 3.5 hours long. I think it's only like a few minutes over 3 hours, but it felt so long to me. And I understand, like as a filmmaker, Ryan Coogler had a lot to say, and the franchise losing Chadwick had a lot to say, and there was a lot like that movie is literally like a 3 hour wait for his character. But unfortunately, that just didn't make me love the movie. Like the movie's fine. I'm not complaining about there's some really cool stuff that happens in the movie, but this year was not one of Marvel's best. I really just did like all the stuff that Marvel did this year. Well, here when we're on the Marvel topic, let me look here. Okay, the 9 things that Marvel put out this year: Moon Knight, which I wanted to like because I really like the character Moon Knight a lot. But I just didn't like Oscar Isaac did an amazing job. The multiple personalities was amazing. Like he did a really good job with what he was given. But when you give me a show called Moon Knight and then half of episode 3, all of episode 4, all of episode 5, and part of episode 6 don't even feature the character of Moon Knight, I did not enjoy that. Like, I watch a show called Moon Knight because I want to watch Moon Knight being a badass. Like, that's not what I got from the show. And what I got from the show was okay, but nothing that I really loved or cared about. The Moon Knight fight scenes were really good and really cool, and I liked them, and that's what I wanted all the time. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a very Sam Raimi movie. It was fine. I was impressed that they actually made one to go full bad. Didn't expect it, but it still just didn't make the movie that great. Like, I think there's a how it should have ended for that movie that is literally how it should have ended very early on in that movie. Ms. Marvel was fine. I liked it. I'm trying to both Moon Knight and Miss Marvel kind of helped me lower my expectations for the rest of the year, and that didn't even really help all the time. But Miss Marvel was okay. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It actually at least gave me some, action and adventure with her character. I actually got to see her get involved in some stuff. The time travel thing was kind of a boring episode, which I love time travel, and I still was like, this is not the greatest episode of the show, but Ms. Marvel was fine. And then, obviously at the end they teased the movie for next year. Or for this year now. This year, 2023. Thor 4 was terrible. I have not liked the last 2 Thor entries. I haven't liked the last 3 Thor entries. I love the first Thor movie, but man, these other ones not so great. I actually have not watched any of the I Am Groot shorts, so I really don't have anything to say on those. I'm sure I will someday. It's just never really interested me to watch them. I liked She-Hulk overall. I liked Daredevil. I liked her breaking the fourth wall. Um, the last episode was so bizarre and off the wall that I loved how crazy they went with it. But it also just felt really weird. So I mean, it's fine. Miss Marvel, or I'm sorry, She-Hulk was fine, and I mean, I'm a huge Tatiana Maslany fan from Orphan Black, so happy that she got to do it, and she was fine as the character. I think it was more just like the writing, the slow pacing, the weird stuff they did in some of the episodes. yeah, it just wasn't the greatest. Werewolf by Night, probably my favorite thing Marvel did this year. 1 hour, quick, awesome story. Elsa Bloodstone was really well done. The creature they were hunting was really well done. Really don't have any complaints about Werewolf by Night. Really enjoyed it. I already talked about how I felt like Wakanda Forever was just too slow for me, especially for a Marvel movie. They just kind of tried to do too much. The underwater stuff, like why did I have to have a 20-minute journey to get underwater and show me a whole bunch of stuff that like were they trying to be Avatar? Like I don't know. Like and then they take 20 minutes to get down there and then boop, like 30 seconds to get back up to the top. Like I didn't buy it. And then the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, enjoyable, good time, had fun with it. Nothing amazing, nothing groundbreaking. Kevin Bacon did a great job. I loved Drax and Mantis's like concept for Christmas. I love what they did. There was a good stuff where Chris Pratt was Star Lord was talking about Yondu. The opening with the Yondu cartoon was really cool. So it was fine, but again, like I didn't come away from it loving it. So Marvel just Marvel just didn't do it for me this year. Star Wars was kind of the same way. Like Obi-Wan was cool. I enjoyed it overall. Andor, I just haven't been able to get into Andor. I've watched the first 3 episodes and just stopped. I've heard it gets really good. My buddy Jonathan, even this morning when I was talking to him, said, from episode 5 on, it gets really good. So I'm gonna try to find the time to get through that. Now that we're talking about TV, let me talk about what did I write down? So I've got 3 TV shows from this season that I absolutely loved. I thought they were absolutely amazing. Um, and like when I'm talking about TV shows, I'm talking about like stuff that I watched this year because things like this season of Stranger Things, season 4 of Stranger Things, best season since season 1. Seasons 2 and 3 were okay and good, and I loved the journey that we went on. But aside from the Russia stuff, I really feel like the entire Russia stuff could have been cut out. They could have found a different way to get Hopper back after an entire season. But other than that, like that season was really good. The Boys was what, like season 3 this year. That was fine. But like I'm trying to talk about like stuff that like I just got into this year, and the number one, like the best show. Oh wait, that's not how I do it. I started 3. I started 3. Show that I really loved. A couple of friends told me to watch it. So I finally did. And the first night that I turned it on, I think the show's Severance. I think there's 9 episodes. I watched the first 2 because I started it kind of late, and I'm old now, so like I'm definitely in bed by midnight these days. Um, but so like I started it, watched the first 2 episodes, and was like literally hooked. Like I was like, can I stay up for a third one? I don't think I can. Next day I woke up, just marathon the rest of the show all in one afternoon. It's really well done. Severance is really cool. Adam Scott's good. The concept is cool. I really liked a lot of the storytelling techniques that they used. I highly recommend Severance. I think it's really fun and enjoyable. After that, so this was the second season that came out this year, but I had never seen the first season. So right before the second season came out, again, I marathoned the entire first season in one day, and that's Only Murders in the Building. They're only like 30 minutes at most episodes, so like a whole season's only like 5 hours ish or whatnot. So like the night that I watched all of those like wasn't really a big deal. Like just started watching it and it was still done before midnight. So watched the whole first season in one night and then was ready when season 2 launched. Started getting into season 2. Um, Season 2 is even good. Like season 1's really good. Season 2 is good. It's fun. Season 3, I'm excited to see where they go with it. More murders in the building, I'm sure. But like, it does a good job of like spoofing podcast stuff. Well, and I mean, like speaking about podcasts now, I can't even remember the Apple show. Truth Be Told, I can't remember if the second season was this year or last year. If it was this year, I'd include it, but I can't remember if that was like January, maybe that the second season of Truth Be Told came out. Either way, Truth Be Told is a good show on Apple also. And speaking about Apple TV, the biggest disappointment of this year is it's been over a year now since we got any Ted Lasso, and that's sad. I can't. I mean, I'm gonna be sad because season 3 will be the last season of Ted Lasso, but I also just want more Ted Lasso in my life. Like it's a show that I've watched a lot this summer, kind of trying to reprogram my brain and my mentality and everything I've been thinking. Obviously, Ted Lasso is extremely good for motivation and well, I will admit to the fact that very much the persona that I try to put out, like Ted Lasso, is very different from the what's actually going on inside his head and the emotional stuff. So seeing him and his nervous breakdowns and his anxiety attacks, like those are things that like I super relate to, and probably why I liked the show a lot before I realized what was going on with myself. So it's a completely different viewing experience now, but I think it's made me love the show even more. So I want more Ted Lasso, and the fact that we haven't gotten anything about when more Ted Lasso is coming makes me really upset. There's a couple shows I'm in the middle of. Right now, I'm in the middle of Wednesday. I'm 4 episodes in, so I think I'm like halfway through it. Really digging that. Really reminds me of the first season of Riverdale, which I know I am not the demographic for either of those shows. But I like good storytelling. I like murder mysteries. I like the fantasy sci-fi aspect of stuff. Jenna Ortega was in Scream, so I kind of I dig her from her for role in that. But so yeah, Wednesday's super Tim Burton, and having Catherine Zeta-Jones in there is, and Christina Ricci is in it, so it's got some stuff that makes me excited about the show. Like I said, I'm a couple episodes into Andor, and then the comedy show that I've been trying to get into is on Netflix called Blockbuster. It's about Randall Park, I think is the actor's name. He works at the last open Blockbuster, which oddly it's set in Michigan instead of the actual last Blockbusters in Oregon. Not really sure why that had to be changed for the plot of the movie or TV show. Like I don't understand that. Like if you're gonna do the last Blockbuster, why don't you reference the fact that it's in Bend, Oregon for the show? So I don't know, but it's it's one that I like, but like I'll watch an episode and then I'll be like, man, I'm gonna go watch something. Like it's not something that makes me go, oh, I want to marathon multiple episodes in a row, like some of these other shows I've been talking about. So it's it's fun. I want to finish it. Like there's nothing wrong or bad with it. I love all the movie references. I love Randall Park's character and how like very into movies he is. Like he's worked at this video store for like 20 years. Like definitely something that I relate to, and he gets made fun of by his new younger employees in ways that like younger people make fun of me, and so like I kind of get that in joke also now. So that's the couple of shows that I'm like in the middle of right now that I just Wednesday will probably be the first one that I finish because I've actually been really enjoying that and the murder mystery and the things that are going on in that. And so now there's a couple of shows from 2022 that I need to watch and want to watch, and I hope I make time for it soon. But I just haven't really had a whole lot of. That's not true. I've had the time. I've chosen to do other things or watch other things with my time. But number one on my list is The Bear. I've heard nothing but great things about The Bear. Having worked in the service industry and having a lot of friends still in the service industry, I've heard nothing but good things from all of them about how like true to life representation it is. So that's very high up on my list that I need to make time for. Tulsa King is also on there. I like Stallone. I like Stallone when he does Stallone stuff. So being like a mobster gangster type character, like I'm very interested to see how that plays out. And I've heard really good things about it also from my friends that have watched it. So I'm excited for that. The Peripheral, the sci-fi show on Amazon, definitely like right up my alley. It's one that excuse me, it's one that I think I've been waiting because I just want to marathon it. Like I know I'm probably going to get really invested in it. Um, and like right now is probably a good time for the fact that like sports is kind of in a. I mean, the Pacers are going on. The Colts are, miserable, but they're about to not have to worry about them anymore. And Bayern Munich doesn't start playing again until like the 16th or 18th, or like it's. I've got like 3 more weeks until Bayern Munich's back, and it's just driving me crazy. Like I just want the World Cup was just a miserable experience for Germany, and then I had to watch a bunch of stupid countries that I don't care about play, but I just wanted to watch the World Cup. Very happy I got to see Messi in 2022 get the last trophy that he needed. I also hate France and I hate Kylian Mbappe, so I was very happy to see them lose. But it was also one of the most exciting football/slash soccer matches that I've ever seen in my entire life. As somebody who literally didn't give a crap which team won, I was pulling for Messi, but I wouldn't have cared either way. Like I had no investment in Argentina or France. I just hate France. That was still an amazing match. Like, and I hate Mbappe in the same way I hate LeBron. Like, I don't hate them because they're good at their sport. Like, I will never question their talent. They're both very talented people. I just hate them because they come off as such douchebags. Like, just guys that I can't respect and have no interest in. Like it's just yeah. So anyway, in 2022, it was really cool to see a really exciting and enjoyable final World Cup match to the point where like my father, who does not care about soccer, was texting me during the game. My brother, he didn't text me during the game, but we talked like a couple of days after the match, and he was just like, "Oh, I'm sure you watched that," and I was like, "Yeah, I did." Like, why didn't you text me during it? Jason's brother Dave, who not does not care about soccer except for once every 4 years, he was texting me during multiple games during the World Cup. He was texting me during the final, but my favorite was like 2 weeks earlier. It was like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and Dave texts me, and he was just like, "Oh my god, are you watching this?" I can't remember what match it was, and I responded and I said, yeah, man. Like I watched that yesterday when it was live because it's 4 o'clock in the morning over there right now." And he texted me back and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so dumb. I didn't even think about the time difference." He just turned it on and there was a replay of it on. So he watched it. It was cool that he was like, it was cool that he cared enough to watch the thing, even though he didn't realize it wasn't live. So that was pretty fun. So yeah, so that's 2022 in entertainment. Um, like I said, I am hoping that Jason and I get all of the Shane Talks reboot stuff figured out, worked out, and can start bringing you some more content again. Like I said, probably once a month is going to be the plan. So there's a little bit less time commitment. There's not like 2 or 3 hours a week that we put into it. It's maybe 4 hours for an entire month, like 2 hours watching a movie, 2 hours recording it one night. As opposed to the previous way we would do it, I'd write a 2 or 3 page script a week ahead of time based on the topic that we had, send it to Jason, whoever our guest or whatever was going to be on with us, send them the script, and then we'd get on the call, and then the first like half hour, 45 minutes of it was us talking about any questions we had on the script, and then just going with it and recording till 2 or 3 in the morning. So yeah, doing that every week kind of, everybody's got lives, everybody's got stuff going on. But I still do want Jason and I to be able to be creative. I love talking about movies with people. I've been lucky that over the last couple of months I've had people, that I hang out with that I get to talk to about movies, and we get to talk about like, Jason and I and our friend Joel and Mark. We get together usually every Thursday night to watch something. It hasn't, because of the holidays, we haven't been getting together, and there just hasn't been a lot of good stuff coming out, the end of this year. Babylon is out, but I just can't. I can't fathom sitting in a movie theater for 3 hours and 9 minutes. Well, and the theater we go to adds like 30 minutes of previews on before it, so it would end up being like almost 4 hours that I'm sitting there in the movie, and I'm just not into that. Just don't dig it anymore. Like, and I'm interested in Babylon. I love the cast. I'm a huge Brad Pitt person, but no, I'm not at a point in my life where I want to sit in a movie theater for 4 hours like that. I mean, if I was still working at a theater and getting paid for it, I'd obviously easily do that. Like, who doesn't want to get paid to watch movies like I did for 20 years? But nowadays, like, my time is just too important to me to do stuff like that. So I do hope I get to see Babylon soon. But other than that, like, a lot of, I mean, Avatar came out. I know Jason went and saw it, but like, not something I'm interested in or care about. So there's a couple of things here at the end of 2022 that I still need to get in. Well, I mean, like Hustle came out like back in June, and I still haven't watched it. So I don't know. I got to make time for some of these movies that I do want to see and stuff like that. But that is me talking about a lot of the entertainment stuff that I cared about in 2022. I'm sure I forgot something. I'm sure there was something I saw that was a good time that I'm not thinking about or remembering. But yeah, if I don't remember it, did I really enjoy it that much? So like I said, thanks for listening to me. I think it's been like 40 minutes or so. I've been chatting away, maybe an hour-ish or something like that. But yeah, so I appreciate your time listening to me. I'm happy to be back and talking about movies. I'm happy about talking about entertainment. I'm sorry that you had to listen to me just ramble. But yeah, it was a good time for me to get out some of my thoughts and feelings on what I did and didn't like so far this year in 2022, since I haven't got to talk about any of it publicly for a long time. So all right. Well, hopefully sooner than later, you'll see Jason and I back on here. Hopefully, we'll have two guests with us. The new the new plan for the new reboot of it is four of us on, once a month talking about a single topic. Well, a single topic and then a couple of subtopics that kind of relate to the bigger picture every month. So, worst case, if we don't put something together at some point here in June, because obviously, like, I'm going to either want to do it where it comes out the last week of the month for that month, or have it come out the first, like, we either do something the last week of January and call it the January episode, and we'll start doing them the last weeks of the month. More preferably, we will do something that would come out literally like, pull a page from Bone Thugs and Harmony on the first of the month. Maybe I can make that my theme song. But on the first of the month, we would drop whatever, like, February 1st, we'll drop one and just call it February 2023. So we'll see how that works out. But Jason, I got a little more brainstorming to do. When I pitched him on my concepts, I think he was, I don't know if he was soaking it in or if he just didn't want to, if I was pitching it with so much enthusiasm that he didn't want to shoot me down on the same moment. I kind of got the vibe that he wants to talk about stuff a little bit more than we did that night, and we'll see how things transpire from that. But hopefully sooner than later, you'll get me, Jason, and two more guests back here, and we'll do some more Shane Talks episodes in 2023. Currently, my plan, like I said at the beginning of this episode, is I got through May 19th of 1999, the Star Wars Phantom Menace episode. In May of this year, which will then be the 24th anniversary. Last year when I did those first 5 months, it was the 23rd anniversary. Now we're going into the 24th anniversary of 1999. I'm going to try to pick up the 1999 episodes then. So gives me a little more time. Kind of something I was doing back during the 99 episodes was like at the beginning of the month, I would go and try to get physical copies of all of the movies that I needed for the next month. It was kind of something that I was, doing because it was fun for me. Like, since I love 1999 the way I do, like, to actually have DVDs or VHS tapes from that year was kind of a shtick that I was going for. Like, I make fun of Jason for collecting, all those 4K 3D Blu-rays and stuff like that, telling him he's the only person on the planet who cares about 3D movies. In the same vein, like, he would make fun of me saying that I'm the only person in the world that cares about these movies from 1999. So, which I disagree, because there was an entire book written about it, which I should have written that book, but whatever. I'm doing it visually now. But anyway, so my goal will be that'll give me a couple of months to start building back up that media that I need, the DVDs or the VHS tapes for the rest of 1999, and worst case, depending on the monthly stuff that happens with Jason and I for the official Shane Talks 99 will hopefully come back to be a weekly or twice a week, depending on Wednesday release dates and stuff like that. But so yeah, I hope everybody has a great 2023. I know my 2022 was terrible. A lot of my personal life was a mess. I was mentally not there, didn't enjoy 2022 very much. A lot of it was self-inflicted mental anguish and anxiety that I put on myself. But I have worked through that, and I am super excited about 2023. I am hoping that the person that I am on camera is more like the person that I am actually in real life. So we will see how well I do with that. So really appreciate everybody listening to this episode, and like I said, hopefully Jason and I will be back together soon. Thank you.